Ta-da!
Cool. I added. I wrote my R's that time. There's no R in the word that we're saying either. I'm just adding it.
Well, you know what? Little linguistic thing. D's in other languages are actually said a lot of similar. They're said very similarly. Oh man. While explaining linguistics, I just can't even pronounce a single word.
It's
fair.
They're
said very similarly to a D. You kind of get your rolled R's out of what your tongue does when it says a D.
Oh, Jacob. The tourist has become the tour guide.
Yeah, for a completely different type of podcast. But what are we? We are the Grand Line Tourist, a chapter by chapter examining or re-examining, if you're my friend over there across the internet, of Eiichiro Oda's One Piece. I, doing the examining, am your tourist, Jacob. And I think I already mentioned your name, but go ahead and give yourself your own little self-introduction. Feel it out.
I, Eric Vu, first of his name, second of the restroom, am the tour guide here on this virtual tour. I mean, it's not really virtual. We're talking virtually, but it's more like I don't know. What is the metaphorical equivalent of this tour that we are doing through the manga chapters of One Piece? I don't know what that is yet. We'll think about it.
No. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what we got, Eric? We have a letter, a message sent across the interwebs, and I put it over in the in our chat for you. So I want you to go ahead and open that up and describe what you see.
All right, a letter from port. This is our letter from port section. I like to. We got to name it, or else I'm not gonna remember the segments. You know.
That's right. Yeah.
Here we go. Which one is it? I'm looking at a few. Okay. 25.
Very bottom one.
I got it.
Bottom of 3.
Oh, it's a Jolly Roger. It's a picture of a Jolly Roger.
And it's a Jolly Roger.
The straw hat Jolly Roger.
Yeah, a straw hat Jolly Roger, and it was drawn by none other than mother of Jacob herself. The tourist's mom has decided to take a glance at what I've been doing lately, and this was the first thing she sent me that indicated that she was checking out One Piece, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty awesome, because Eiichiro Oda has some sections in the One Piece manga where he explains how to draw a Jolly Roger.
Yeah, your mom took it to heart. She
took it to heart. Yeah, did the artistic journey all on her own. I think she did a pretty good job.
That's cute.
I'm about this. I think I'm about to say I'm going to include that in the show notes somehow, which I almost regret saying it because I'll have to do a little bit of finagling to make that work, but it's gonna happen.
You gave yourself
I gotta
homework.
make it happen. I gave myself homework. I gotta write that. Letters at port might as well be homework assignments from mom. We're gonna rename the section. But no, we'll see if she says anything else.
Yeah. So
in the future.
Before, I feel like you're gonna try and get us off of this topic, but I want to jump on it for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's dig into my childhood.
What do you
mom,
mean that
my youth?
She's checking in on what you're doing. Like she just started reading One Piece, or did you leave it hanging around for her? Like how did this happen?
Oh yeah, okay. I definitely prodded and left it around for her kind of over this past winter break. We were around each other, and I showed her some of the art. I kind of said, sometimes she really likes to read before going to bed, and I kind of left the One Piece volumes that you'd lent to me around, just try to get her to read some. And I think she might have read a little bit back then. But you can't know if you got someone hooked until they just start reading on their own, right? That was like, okay, I think she flips through some pages. She had some thoughts, and I was like, okay, you haven't joined the tour yet. But then the next step I did, just in case, this was totally on a whim. I was like, I think she's out. I didn't think she was on the tour. I just reserved from the library. Another good way to get manga, if you, especially popular manga like One Piece, you can usually reserve some of the volumes from your local library. So I reserved them and sent them to her account. And then so one day when she's picking up her other books from the library, she picks up 3 volumes of One Piece as well. And this is where I was like, okay, we'll find out if, is she going to be intrigued enough to, read a couple chapters, listen to the podcast a little bit. And so all I know so far is that we got this this Jolly Roger from her. So it does indicate, I don't know exactly where it appeared in Volume 1, but, she's got some chapters under her belt, to say the least.
Yeah. That's really cute. I don't know if my mom would read one. No, my mom would not read One Piece. But I mean, that's for
My mom loves me, Eric. This is
yeah. Apparently, no, that's super cool, man. Also a little manipulative by.
Oh yeah, no,
I'm joking.
I mean,
it's not. It's
what
cute.
it's what you got to do sometimes. You know, it's like if you have a friend that you know would love a piece of content, and you're just like, they haven't seen it yet. You just all of a sudden they just start. Why is this Blu-ray sitting on my dresser?
You know what? That last comment I made to you sounds a little judgy. I definitely did the same thing to my brother with the Attack on Titan, which is an anime going on right now. I've tried to get him to sit down and watch it a few times. This last time, I finally did it again. Like, this is multiple times over the spans of this, I don't know, 5 to 6 years the show's been on. This last time, it got him, and it hooked him, and I made a fan out of him. But this was a journey. You and I did the same move.
No, it's a good move. Because, I mean, well, the thing that we're doing that's always nice is you're bringing someone into something where they'll automatically have someone to talk about it with if they want to.
Oh, that's fair.
Because if you discover something on your own, you're kind of in that position of like, but I don't know anybody else that likes this thing, right? And you gotta put in some effort to, try to, search for a podcast about it. And then maybe you're lucky and grandlinetourist exists, or maybe you're not. And
exactly.
And you're like, where's my podcast about my, I don't know, very, very obscure Neil Gaiman series? I don't know, whatever you happen to be reading.
Yes, Neil Gaiman rewrites the histories of the U.S. founding fathers, right? Who's following that fan book? Yeah. I don't even know what he'll call that. He would call that American governors, American governors, which is a playoff of American gods. But I switched one G word for another G word. All right, you know what? This isn't what this is about.
When I got a tour guide, I didn't know I'd be getting such intelligence and wit.
Oh wow, that'd be sarcastic if I knew it wasn't you. Oh no.
So you know what? I think I'm gonna get us going here today with the itinerary for chapter 25, entitled Lies. So, we just came off Usopp having punched Klahadore and declaring pride in his pirate heritage.
Yep.
Kaya, sees Usopp trying to go after Klahadore again because they're just still kind of going at it. He nearly punches him, nice. But no, not at all. And Kaya actually, in a little bit surprising, but it kind of makes sense, proceeds to say that Klahadore is a good person. And at this point, Usopp and Luffy, they're really anti-Butler at this point. They just want to get out of there, and
nice.
They're just leaving. Klahadore reveals that he was marooned on this land because now he's talking to Kaya after they kind of
having a heart-to-heart.
It's very interesting. They get a little bit of almost like a family moment that I wasn't expecting because you weren't. There's something between them. It's not just like this empty relationship. He's saying, I was marooned. I used to work on a ship, but your parents helped me, and I made a promise to them, and so that's why he's doing these things in order to protect her. That's why sometimes he can go too far and really lay into Usopp.
Yep.
They ultimately, even though that apology doesn't go 100% great, it kind of lands and then doesn't land as they still talk about Usopp.
Yeah, and Kaya is saying what Kaya said to Usopp. It's the same argument. Kaya is like, they're both good people, right? Usopp, you just don't know how good he is. Klahadore, you just don't know how a good person he is. It's all like everything's a big misunderstanding in Kaya's eyes.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's Kaya doing the same thing for both the people that are, currently trying to, one's being punched. The other's doing the punching. We haven't seen Klahadore raise any fists. It's very interesting. But we have a shift to, you had a better name for them. They're not the food pirates. Is it the food pirates? What'd you call them?
The food boys, I think I wrote down.
The food boys. Yeah. We shift to the food boys, Zoro and Nami. And the last food boy, Onion, comes running, saying, "There's a backwards man. There's a backwards man." And we're introduced to none other than Django the Hypnotist.
Oh, yes. Yes,
very interesting character. He immediately puts himself and the audience to sleep. Very, very interesting. We bounce over to Luffy and Usopp, who are kind of commiserating over at the Usopp's favorite hangout, the beach cliff, where Luffy remembers something. We kind of had a hint of this, I think, last issue as well, last chapter. He remembers that Yasopp, not Usopp, Usopp's father was a crewmate of none other than Shanks, and he was an overall great pirate, one of Luffy's favorites. We have a little flashback of them hanging out at the bar, as
Yes.
one does with young
At the
children.
tavern, yeah.
Yeah, at the tavern. We learned that Yasop was a great shot, and he was actually a little bit broken up about having to leave his child Usopp to kind of go adventuring because the call to adventure was just too great for him.
Too great. Yep.
And then, lo and behold, below Luffy and
At the
Usopp
bottom
is
of the cliff,
Butler. Is our butler Klahadore? Is he a butler or is he like a house?
He's
head of house.
He's a butler. Yeah, that's what they call him,
yeah.
a butler. Yeah.
He's down on the beach talking to Django, and Django lets slip the awesome code words for Operation Murder Miss Kaya, which obviously Luffy and Usopp aren't too ecstatic about. They're a little upset, and that's where we end our chapter.
Yeah, man, you could tell by how long this itinerary section was that this is a lot of things happened in this.
No, yeah, it's
right.
You could summarize it shorter, but then you lose out on content. There's a couple different ways to do it. We could have been like Klahadore and Kaya talk. We learn that there's a butler and that they're trying to murder Miss Kaya. Like that could have been it, but this is more fun.
It's a lot of exposition about what I think is gonna happen. Obviously, this is like it's everything leading into the main meat of the arc that we're about to jump into, right? And we're only how many chapters are we? This is chapter 25, and let me see when when we got to this island here, huh? We got here in 23. So this is what, the third chapter of this arc right now. So they have to get all this stuff, kind of the setup out of the way.
Yeah.
This is like a setup chapter if you've ever been in one,
Yeah.
So we're gonna just talk about a little bit of what happens in this chapter. You mentioned it. There is this weird family heart-to-heart moment between Klahadore and Kaya.
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. What do you feel about him? I know him. I know what Klahadore is and who he is as a person. I've been through this arc. But you, as a tourist, what do you feel? What vibe are you getting from this guy?
It's the problem of him being in charge of her that just gives me the weird feeling. If we didn't have that element of him being in charge and like seeming to imprison her, then these moments wouldn't play off so strangely. Then it would be like, okay, this is just someone who is being overprotective.
Right.
But this feels like something else,
Yeah.
Maybe something a little more nefarious. But it does feel legit at the same time.
Whoa,
even if
weird.
it's nefarious, it feels legit. Like if he's being some, if he's got some other ulterior motives, he's method acting deep is what it feels like to me.
Right. He's too Daniel Day-Lewis in.
He's in it. Yeah. He like maybe he's not gonna be. Maybe he was a bad person and now he's in too deep and he's gonna try to come out a good person. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I just wanted to chat about him in that moment, very specific, because he like. You're right. I think this at this point in the story, he is very uneasy because he can say something like heartfelt and nice like he did in that moment in the bedroom scene. But at the end of the last chapter, in the beginning of this chapter, he's not very, very nice. He's doing, it feels like a lot of, like he's still goading Usopp to punch him and everything. He's still kind of go in on him.
But you also feel like, why would he be doing that so heavily towards that person? You feel like there's a history there. And then you're wondering, like, maybe all this is explainable by something that would result in his character not just being, like, evil, just maybe there's something else there.
Yeah. But I
maybe
mean,
maybe him and Yasop go way back. I don't know. Maybe Yasop, like, I don't know, broke his glasses once, and now he, like, is very careful about the way he puts them back on. I'm not sure.
All right, so we got to go on to the next thing. The weirdest person yet, at least in my opinion, to be introduced. I mean, we met a guy trapped in a treasure chest, but this dude, I call this the segment of the discussion points, Django un-Steven Tylered. Also, he looks like Steven Tyler, and he moves like Michael Jackson. Like,
okay, wait, you gotta, this can be bad, but who is Steven Tyler?
The lead singer of Aerosmith.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Oh, still nothing for you?
No, not too much. I know Aerosmith, but I don't have a great visual for the bandmates themselves.
He might actually just be more Michael Jackson designed. There's some features, I guess, that can go back and forth between Steven Tyler and Michael Jackson, but he's definitely, like, he's moonwalking, right? So it is kind of like a play, and like he's kind of he's like smooth criminal kind of designed, right? So
Now, and I got to reveal, that was actually a particularly fun moment when they showed Django walking backwards.
Yeah.
Because as a person who's so used to reading comics and regular English literature, it's very easy for my eyes to see the 3 panels and read them left to right, which makes it look like he's walking normally. When it's definitely right to left and he's walking backwards. But like my mind just, when it sees something that makes more sense one way, and that's the way that I tend to read anyway, it wants to read it that way. So I just thought it was a funny little like, oh, I gotta hit the old noggin and make it process it correctly.
Oh man, what a weirdo though, huh? What are your overall thoughts about this design, this guy that we like? What is this person? Like a hypnotist?
No,
like
I like him. You know, he's got the cool goatee. He's got the heart glasses. I think what really won me over though, actually, was just the fact that he put himself to sleep. I think that was just that's just the kind of goofiness that I like in any character.
Did you see him do he does the Michael Jackson thing when he goes on the tip of his toes? He does that in the panel when he's going, what, ready, what? And then 2 is him doing the Michael Jackson, the toast dance, and then he knocks himself out.
No, and he's even got that kind of funny, it's almost like a little catchphrase, 1, 2, Django. You know?
Yes. Yeah, what a strange guy. I also love, like, the lead up to this, which is, like, Nami and Zoro being like, hey, what happened? What happened to the third one of you? And they're like, oh, Onion does this. He goes away and then he comes running back, bringing more exposition of a character happening.
This was an example of I didn't need the explanation. My mind was like so in tuned with like there was only the 2 of them, and my mind went, he's gonna come running, isn't he? And I was like, and then they start explaining it. I'm like, oh, and they're even prepping it up for him to come running, and then boom, Onion with it's a backwards man. That was pretty awesome. Actually, you know, that you may have more thoughts, but that was totally going to be my OP's Got Jokes. That was like my favorite one of the chapter for sure.
That one, I have a few more, but I'm glad you like that one because I thought that one was hilarious too. What a fun little payoff to like, even you guessed it. Like we're starting to get, it's weird. Like we're starting to get his humor of like.
Yeah, and well, and to be honest, this was the second time. It's not like that. I don't think this isn't the third time that would have happened, right? I think this would only be the second time. No, and that's sometimes it's hard to predict. Like it's hard. You've done good. I think you've done a good job with the character if you can predict something they're going to do the second time they do it. You know, because really it hasn't been established as a pattern yet, right? Yeah. It's not like if you see someone do something twice, you're like, okay, I've seen the repetition. I know to look out for it, right?
Yeah.
But it was just, I got this feeling about Onion.
Onion for the rest of his life is always going to be the guy who sees things he's not supposed to see yet.
He's totally non sequitur. I had some onions with dinner today, and we'll just leave it at that. It was delicious, some soup. But
did you think the onions knew that you were going to eat them before the rest of the other ingredients knew you were going to eat them?
Of course.
Okay, my last thing that I want to chat about in this chapter is Yasopp and Shanks, Luffy and Usopp. What?
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, you're laying down something that actually, in retrospect, now feels very potentially obvious, right? If it now, it does not as obvious as I think about it, right? It's because Luffy is not Shanks' son, but he's kind of like his heir apparent for like pirating spirit. So if we consider Luffy to be Shanks's like protege, then Usopp is clearly Yasopp's protege, and then we kind of have like a whole another element of a pirate crew coming together, you know?
Yeah. I thought it was cute that this is what it brought up. What I wanted to do was go back to chapter 1 and see if we could see Yasopp anywhere in the early in chapter 1. I didn't get a chance to really do that. So if anybody who's listening to this has done that, that'd be super cool. You can send it over. But I feel like I would have noticed a man with a headband that said Yasopp on him.
Oh yeah, no, maybe I like that head. That was really good. The headband was pretty awesome. Maybe Oda did that on purpose. He's like, yeah, I didn't put this guy there, so I'm just going to make it very obvious for you to check.
Yeah, and I thought, so a small really thing that I thought was very touching in this chapter is that, like, you could tell that Usopp and Yasopp love each other, and they're not even in the same panel. Like, it's all told through the perspective of, like, Luffy, right? Like, in the flashback, Yasopp talks about Usopp all the time. to the point where young Luffy's like, you've already told me this. He's like, well, I'm gonna keep telling you because I love him. And then like Usopp doesn't. He loves his dad so much that he doesn't even blame his dad for leaving, right? And it brought up this really interesting thing of like, Yasob is essentially following his dream, which is I'm gonna be a pirate, like the call of the ocean, the call of piracy, or whatever it is. Like really, the call to adventure is so great that I have to do it, right? And he's doing it, despite leaving a son living by himself in this village, right? Like, good luck, boy. Like, good luck as I go and do this. But Usopp doesn't like blame him for that, right?
No, it's interesting because I almost didn't take the events so literally and seriously, just because I wasn't sure if I should yet. But like you're suggesting that maybe we do, and then the only thing I might put as a little bit of a counterpoint is it makes me feel a little bit sad about Usopp. I can see someone defending their father who's gone more out of a sense of like, I wish I had a father. I actually have like deep unresolved feelings about that. Not so much that like I approve of what my dad did in following his dream, but maybe, I wish my dad was with me. I see what he did, but I don't have it all resolved yet. So I could see it going either way for Usopp at this point. The way you're suggesting would actually be pretty cool though, if like there was this like connection and kind of like a soul bond between them and their spirit of piracy that Usopp actually understands. Just the fact that he left when he was young has me thinking, I don't know, I'm not totally confident that Usopp's feelings are resolved on that.
Right, and I feel like that's also just to kind of reinforce your second point there, which is I think that's why he doesn't lie about that. He doesn't back off that his dad is a pirate, because it has to be important. Why else would his dad leave? Right?
Geez. No. That if you take it that way, that's pretty sad. I mean, no, it's a bit touching and tragic.
Right?
Really.
Yeah,
like,
it's very tragic. Which is
like to be a pirate cannot be a bad thing, because if it was, then my dad left me for nothing.
He would have stayed. Yeah, he would have stayed, and he would have. He would have just been my dad. But he,
I'm now so excited to see how this resolves. Because before, like I said, I was kind of treating it as this is an element of backstory that is giving our character some depth, but not necessarily what I thought was going to be thematic resolution. So we'll see if it does go that way or not. I'm excited though.
Yeah, man. So I thought
you better not be just guiding me into like, oh yeah, they never touch it again, Jacob. Sorry, man.
I mean, let's keep going.
Oh no.
But that's everything I kind of want to chat about this chapter for sure. That's kind of out of everything that happens. I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about. Did you see this twist with Captain what's his name, Cloudor? Did you see this thing with Cloudor and Django at the end of this chapter here?
Yeah, and I know when I was mentioning earlier that I wasn't totally confident that Cloudor might not have a reason for all his explanations, but it seems like he's on board for something called Operation Murder Miss Kaya. So we've clearly passed a threshold there. I don't think there's probably no redemption for Cloudor not being evil at this point.
Yeah, it makes all of his motivation very, very twisted.
No. For some reason, when I was kind of defending him earlier, I forgot about the last line of this chapter.
You know what's fair? I did too. And then when I was about to wrap up this segment, I was like, oh, we need to talk about how everything Jacob just said at the beginning is kind of mute compared to what he's doing now.
That's right. I wanted to like Cloudor, so that's why I just decided to ignore. No. I just forgot that. Yeah, it's interesting because now we got knowledge that Cloudor is going after Kaya, and that really makes the earlier sequences, it's got to be false. He's just got to be a method actor. He's just because I still think he's doing a great job. I'm buying it. I see the look in his eyes on the page.
Oh man. All right. Well, enough about eyes. Let's talk about teeth and tongue and laughing. Wow, that was a lot weird for me.
Teeth and tongue, and what's that thing? The thing underneath your lungs that jiggles. The diaphragm.
Oh,
diaphrams.
Diaphragm gotta get those jiggles? In there too. I never knew it jiggled.
Well, I think when you laugh, it goes up and down.
That's fair. All right, let's just laugh.
I never took an anatomy
We've kept
course.
people in this weird segue already for way too long. My first joke is Butler.
That was solid.
Yeah,
I kind of referenced it actually in our
You did.
Some of our listeners. Yeah, okay,
did.
you got it.
I caught you. Yeah, you put that in the beginning of in the itinerary. But I think what really pays off the joke is that all three of the food boys are upset at what Clawdor is doing, but also Luffy's very upset. Luffy also kind of jumps into the name calling in this section where.
Yeah, and not to bounce us back, but why wasn't Zoro that upset? Like Zoro was holding Luffy back.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if he's just not. He's not just too. Maybe he just isn't so engaged in these, other people's lives as Luffy seems to be. It takes a little while. He's just too cool.
That's more Zoro's style. Zoro's like, these guys are strangers. Why would we be upset about what's happening?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Definitely different than Luffy, yeah.
Right, where Luffy's more of like a person of instinct. Was like, oh, I don't like this. Bark, bark, bark. Right? So that's one. And then the other one, you mentioned it, but I don't know if you said it really as a joke, but I like the 1-2 Django when he knocked himself out, which was great. Yes. Why would you say your name? And then who I don't know. I guess I didn't see it coming that he was gonna knock himself out.
No, neither did I. It's such a solid gag. And actually, I got two more Django ones. I liked how he was introduced as the typical traveling hypnotist. Which actually is kind of how hypnotists work in real life. I think they sort of get really good, and then they travel around and do their show in a couple different places. So it's one of those things that seems really odd, but also kind of makes sense if he actually was the typical traveling hypnotist, which we'll have to see. I mean, he can do one trick, kind of.
Yeah. I like I also love how later on Clawdor's like, I told you to come in here discreetly, and you were passed out on the road. And I thought that was just really great. But that leads to my last joke that I really liked, which was where he's like, that's really strange. And Django was like, it's not strange at all. And in the next panel, we have Luffy goes, hey, the butler's down there with that really weird guy. So it's all, everybody but Django thinks he's weird, which I think is fantastic.
It's nice, yeah. He's like, I was just blending in. I was just hanging out with the villagers.
Yeah, it's typical for people to be passed out in the middle of the street like that.
That's right.
All right, let's do some battles. Let's fight.
Dun 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 dun. It's time for the panel battle. This is where Eric and myself, tour guide and tourist, we pick a panel that we find emblematic of the chapter or the journey that we took spiritually as we read through it, and we took them out. We put them in a room. We lock them there for a little bit, and then we check in on it later. And it's lots of fun. And we want you to join in on it. And so you can find your favorite panels in any chapter, and you can send it our way. We're not opposed if you're a little behind us, a little ahead of us. We'll get to them. You can just reach out at grandlinetourist@gmail.com. Of course, leave us some sweet reviews on iTunes or wherever podcast reviews are done these days. It's a pretty open, crazy, wild standard. You'll know where to do it. That would leave a little tickle in our hearts. Ooh,
Eric
has just fired the.
Yep.
He fired the first blow, and I see it. We have Luffy at the tavern talking to Yasopp. And Luffy, I got a son. He'd be just about your age. Not again. You told me this 1,000 times. And then we have Luffy. Oh, I have to admit, Luffy just looks adorable in this picture for some reason. I don't know if he's younger or older than when we first. I think he's younger than when we first meet him at the very beginning of One Piece.
I think so. It must be.
Yeah.
Because remember, they were, for whatever reason, the Shanks pirates were there at his hometown for a long time.
Yeah, they must have been their port of preference.
Right. Yeah, for 3 years.
It's where they picked up their mail.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And then they got letters from their mom. But no, Luffy's got his tiny little fist on the table. And then Yasopp with his nice headband that says Yasopp, and he's got an empty grog in his left hand, and he's whap. So I think is he giving Luffy a little like, I'm going to tell you this again sort of
This is something that I've seen in anime and like in mangas, but they do like a chop on the head, kind of like a tap tap.
Oh, a
to
chop.
Little kids.
Okay.
Yeah, like to little kids, kind of like, what are you doing? Yeah.
No, that's interesting. That's definitely a mannerism that I wouldn't have gotten without a little explanation, right? Because this never happened to me, and I haven't seen it done to anybody. So that totally makes sense. It's a little whop, and it looks like it's going straight onto Luffy's forehead.
Come on, like a small little disciplining thing. Come on, yeah. Listen up while I'm talking to you. I just like this panel for exactly what I described earlier when we were talking about Yasopp, which is like he he does that parent thing or that dad thing that I always equate in pop culture, where they just keep talking about their kid. It's very cute. Like it's a it's a trope that works. It works for me. Whenever I see it, I'm like, this guy loves his kid.
Do you have a good relationship with your dad, Eric?
Well, yes, but I don't know my dad. I feel like my dad would talk about me to other people. But I also like.
Oh no! It was funny. I thought you were about to say, I don't know if I've, my dad. I haven't seen him since I was born.
oh no, that'd be.
He left me at a young age.
That'd be yes. I am Yusuf. And this podcast is my journey. Yeah, no, that's just kind of like why I chose chose this panel, because I feel like it's such a cool little, and the things you described too. I think Luffy, young boy Luffy, is really cute in this. I feel like he feels the need to talk about his son because Luffy reminds him of his son, right? So.
You know what? I got to bring out something else here. This is another, I think, technique in mangas and comics that like, it's almost like you read through time, right to left in this panel. Like usually you kind of think of it as one moment, but with all the onomatopoeia, you kind of know that like a couple things happened. You know that Yasop has like slammed down his drink. You know that he's turned and given a side eye at Luffy, and he's a little bit upset. And then after that, he kind of like did the whap into. I assume those things all didn't happen immediately at once, but in the panel, even though they kind of appear to be happening all at once, our eyes kind of read it in a way that blends into a little story on its own. So, cool technique and well done.
Yeah, that's all of those reasons are why I chose it. Yep, that's it. 100. Yeah, that's what you described was what I could have. That's what I said. That's what I chose. Cool. Let's look at.
Well,
yours.
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, the tour guide's got that stuff for sure.
All right, I'm gonna take a peek at yours.
All right. It's going to be the top left panel.
Is this the one of Kaya hugging her pillow? What a tragically sad panel. We see the words cough cough and then knock knock in a full blackout noise panel, which is weird, right? Do you think
we haven't seen that before.
Do you think he's saying knock knock or he's doing an actual knock?
I think. Oh, that's a good question because it's in the verbal panel. You know what? I actually just got excited about the fact that it was in a black on white panel, which I don't know if it's supposed to be doing this, but kind of indicated to me that the noise is coming from like behind. I don't know. It made me think that like I don't know where the door is in relation to this room, but I was thinking like, oh, maybe it's just to let us know the directionality it's coming from. But I didn't think about it as being. I thought about it being actual knocks on the door, even though
that's what I thought too.
The fact that it's interesting. Well, if we ever see another black bubble, we can get some more like data points on if we're reading them correctly.
Yeah, but I do like the pure. It's so sad, like the loneliness of this shot, right? And you kind of brought up a really good comparison. I don't know if it was this panel that brought it up for you, but the way the window pane looks, it looks like bars on a cell, right? And she's kind of hugging her pillow in loneliness. Like a lot of things just kind of happen, like. Usopp, which is like kind of her escape into the real world, has been pushed away, and she's by herself in this bed that she's kind of sequestered to, and she's hugging this pillow. Like it's something you do when you're feeling like you want the warmth of something around you, which is like a pillow. This is the best thing you have. But it kind of looks like she's trapped in this panel.
Definitely. And I think part of the reason it stood out to me is it's like with her hair falling and the fact that we have a full side-on of her face. We can't see any part of the skin of her face. So it's kind of like pillow and hair from head kind of merge into one blob, and it's kind of seamless, mm-hmm. In a way that just feels like someone's crumbling. And I just thought that was really good.
Oh, yeah, it sucks, dude. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, these are one of the, like we talked about it last chapter, where Usopp's lies aren't, at least for her, like, they both know she's lying, but, like...
Oh, and that's the window that she would talk to Usopp
through, right? Yes, exactly, yeah.
Oh, this panel just got even better. Cause, like, it's closed, saying that, like, you're not allowed to, engage with that person.
Yeah, and, like, like the point I was getting to...
I need to know if Aichiro Oda thought about that when drawing this panel now.
I mean, who knows what the man thinks? And this was back when he was still in his 20s. Like,
he probably doesn't remember.
Yeah, life has a lot of One Piece, a lot of life has happened. But yeah, it's
he's probably done a lot of panels with windows in them.
You probably, yeah.
Like, which one was that?
But yeah, so it's just one of those things where I kind of see like Usopp was doing a thing where they were both like participating in the lie. Like, is a lie still hurtful if both parties are participating in the lie? Like, and they're both gaining something from the lie, as opposed to, I don't know. It brings up an interesting point.
Well,
yeah.
You know what? I'm ready. We've already done some ASMR on this podcast before. I think it's time to be hypnotized, Eric.
There we go. All right. So on the count of 1, 2, Jacob.
Are we going to hypnotize each other?
I think so. On the count
Okay.
of for me, on the count of 1, 2, Eric, and for me, for you to me, 1, 2, Jacob, and when we both,
All right.
we'll go to sleep. All right. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. 1,
1, 2,
2, Eric.
Jacob.